Okay, perfect. We will get going. So I think the numbers have doubled since I last spoke. So just again, reiterate. So my name is Annie Patterson, work for Zurich Resilient Solutions. Thank you for joining today's session. As you can see there, we're talking about risk prevention and energy efficiency. So um, just a couple of housekeeping rules to start with. So obviously today's session will be recorded. However, please give us your absolute undivided attention. We have tried to put in some really relevant content for yourselves. Looking at attendees, we've got a real mixture of roles, titles, etc. We've purposefully kept today's session nice and short and snappy. So if you can, any other distractions, please put those away. As I mentioned, it will be recorded, but we will be going through a Q&A at the end. So please stay with us. Obviously, if you've got any questions, put those in the chat at the end. And we'll spend as much time as we need to go through any queries that you've got. So absolute purpose of today's webinar, 3 key areas. So we are really wanting to help you as a property owner, if you've got a property portfolio, reduce risk, reduce claims, make sure reduce that opportunity of damage to yourselves. We really want to help you. I speak to a number of people that are looking to reduce spiraling energy costs. That's something we really want to focus on today's session. And obviously, if we can help you reduce your energy costs and your energy usage, we are going to help you with reducing and helping improve sustainability and supporting you working towards any targets that you have. So I've done my intro twice. I won't go through me again, but just some background. I've worked in insurance for 25 years, a lot of experience of helping manage risk, providing protection to clients and working with brokers. So hopefully I know what I'm talking about by now. And my colleague Martin will also be joining near the end of the session. Martin's got a far better job title than me. So Martin is UK Premises Security, Technical and Innovation Manager. And what Martin will be covering today, Martin actually oversees one of the offices and actually has Zurich Insight, one of the things we're going to talk about. So Martin's going to go through just how that's helped him with reducing risk and man hours, etc., etc. So today, a couple of things that I really want to focus on. Often when I go out and about, everybody knows Zurich, really well-known brand, really very well supported brand. A number of you will be on here that either are working with Zurich through clients or are direct clients through the insurance arm of Zurich. Often when I go out to talk about building technology, people say, "You're Zurich, why are you here? You're an insurer." Which is always a lovely welcome. So I want to spend a little bit of time just explaining who Zurich Resilient Solutions are, because we're slightly separate from the underwriting arm. But what we're really going to cover today is the current issues and challenges that, again, as a property owner, that you will probably have at the moment, or likely you're going to see going forward. Obviously, there are some significant, as I mentioned already, energy trends and increases. So I want to spend some time on that today to talk about potential impacts if you haven't already seen them. Obviously, some of the challenges that are there already as well. We're going to spend some time on this with regards to smart building technology. Everybody talks about smart building technology. I just want to clarify what we actually mean by that and what your opportunities are. So what are the things that you can do to help reduce those risks that I mentioned and reduce the energy costs that you're probably seeing already? Quite simply, in this webinar, we are here to support you. We want to be able to educate any gaps that you haven't got at the moment and just raise awareness of some solutions that potentially can help you going forward. And as I said at the end, we'll go through some feedback that Martin's got about how it's helped him personally and how it's helped that building. And then my colleague Sarah will come on, as I mentioned, just to go through any questions and answers. So as we talk, if there's any questions, put them in the chat function, and we will cover those at the end of the session. So, as I mentioned, we obviously have a significant insurance arm to Zurich, and many of you will be actual Zurich clients. So, however, we also, under Zurich Resilient Solutions, have a significant number, as you can see on the slides there, of risk engineers. So we are still Zurich, but what we are there to do, as it says on the right-hand side, we are absolutely there to identify, assess, and improve risk. So we have a significant number, as you can see, over 950 risk engineers, a really big footprint in the UK. And we spend a lot of time going out and about looking at clients' properties, anything from education, entertainment, council buildings, etc., etc. And we are there to try and reduce risk and support the likes of yourselves to make sure that the worst doesn't happen. That third figure you see there, when it talks about 48,000 risk improvements have been actioned, that might sound like a bad number, but that to me is a great thing. That shows how proactive we are in reducing risk for clients. We spend a significant period of time going out, looking at properties, as I mentioned, and making sure we can do everything we possibly can, working in conjunction with yourselves to reduce risk. What we're talking about today is obviously focusing on how we can support you on the building side. So it's very much about identifying and being proactive with regards to risk. So it is about improvement of risk, but what we want to do is get there, support and help you before any claim potentially happens. I'm not going to spend long on this slide, but just to finish off with regards to Zurich Resilient Solutions. So we're there to help you on valuations, on the property or building valuation side of things, areas like escape of water, etc. So just very quickly, as I stressed, we are still Zurich, but we are there absolutely to help on the service side of things, to help you if there are any gaps that you've got from a service point of view. Obviously, what we're going to focus on today is that of the 6 boxes, the top middle one is Zurich Insight, which is our observer and listening device for actual properties. So energy cost trends and challenges. This is something that I spend a large period of my time, I said, out and about, meeting clients, meeting brokers. Zurich Insight, our service, which I'll come to in a minute, it's been out for a couple of years. Ever increasingly, do I receive calls or people asking to speak to us because of the significant challenges of energy costs. Obviously, we all see it and feel it on an individual basis in our houses and in our bills. But from a commercial point of view, there has been such an impact and increase in energy costs. So we know, and we hear from the likes of yourselves, the impact this is having. And always feedback will be like, what can we do about it? We don't know what to do at the moment. We just pay our bills. We need support and help in that. So on this slide, the key thing to look at, very, very bottom part of the slide, you can see on there that 30% is effectively wasted in a building. And that's an average. Maybe some of you in this call where it might be slightly less. Some of you will see that more. But the number of people I speak to will say, we know. I was at a client site yesterday, significant size, footfall, just saying, we know there's wastage. We know there's areas where we just don't have the visibility to understand how we can, where that wastage is and where we can reduce it. So this is such a key area of today. Now, obviously, you've seen in the news, there's a massive drive on net zero. And when I speak to clients, they'll say, we're trying to get net zero by 2030, 2050, whenever it is. But as part of the UK side of things, the energy performance certificate, they're trying to raise it to a category C. So trying to make sure that more people have that energy efficiency. And there's a likelihood that by 2030, that level is going to raise again. At the moment, there are very, very few properties that are rated anywhere near a C. At the moment, for an A band, 0.26% of buildings in the UK are rated in an A for efficiency. So there is massive, massive work to do to improve that. There was a study. It was about 950 offices. Before I was looking at the webinar, we're doing some research. 950 offices that were using power to about the equivalent of about 65,000 homes. That was costing these businesses £35 million a year. It's a ridiculous sum of money. And that's the equivalent of generating the same level of carbon emissions to about 46,000 cars. So we know from stats, from government data, just from experience of talking to the likes of yourselves, there is so much wastage and people are crying out for help to how can they reduce those levels. Client I spoke to the other day said to me, our energy efficient model is that person going around turning the lights off. Obviously, a lot of people that now manage facilities have facilities across the UK. It's not physically possible to do that. Obviously, it's not efficient. A lot of people managing properties will be doing that remotely, need support. What I've put on here is just another example about, and I could have put electricity, gas increases, but water. So some of you may have been on a webinar of my colleague Paul Vincent, our escape of water expert. Significant experience in the water industry, and he always talks about, water companies, rightly or wrongly, will mention that water is too cheap in the UK, and obviously we're in the middle of a drought. You can see on there the increases that are likely. This is just one water company that I've taken their name off for, but you can see the increases that are expected, and these don't take into account inflation. These are probably the minimum increases you're going to see. So water bills, etc., are only going to go up and up and up. And we're not talking 5-10% a year, which you probably already experienced. There are some significant increases. Now, I speak to a lot of risk managers, sustainability officers, heads of facilities managers, etc., etc. And I tried to put it into kind of 4 boxes of what we see. But as obviously we've talked about, energy prices are increasing. And when we brought insight to the market, I'd say the vast majority of people took it out because of the risk side, because we can help with risk. And that is still important. But more and more people are coming, as I've mentioned a few times, saying just can't afford the increase in operational costs. Obviously by doing that, it's then making a huge impact or having a huge impact on budget. And that sometimes spills over to the insurance side of things as well. And obviously insurance will always be increasing. So it's making it really difficult for clients we speak to plan short term, long term. As it says there, cash flow, it's again then causing problems on that. We all know budgets are tight. We work a lot with councils, education sector, charities, obviously where budgets are quite sparse. And then what we're finding is people saying to us, well, it's almost like a catch-22. It's making people have a competitive disadvantage because where their energy costs are increasing, they're having to increase prices, which is making it more difficult to renew and retain clients. So absolutely, we hear you. One of the biggest challenges is being able to support people, support your end client, or just working with the budgets that you currently have. And just really to finish off even on energy costs. So one massive disadvantage, obviously there was the recent energy cap for individuals. It's not the case for businesses. Now, as of, you see that second point, electricity bills will be 70% higher than 2021. And that was up to April this year. So already huge, huge increases. And I can't stress enough the number of people that come to me and say, we just don't know what to do to reduce energy costs. We've got no awareness or visibility of spend and how we can be more efficient. That figure there, a quarter of businesses are struggling with energy costs. I'd say it's probably far higher than that. And we've already talked about it already, but most people have to, if they haven't already, increase prices due to significant energy cost increases. So 3 key areas. I mentioned these at the beginning, and I just want to go back to them. the three areas that we get feedback on: energy wastage. But at the same time as that, obviously, if we can help reduce energy, it's the sustainability side. So when we talk about building technology, etc., often we'll have a number of people come on from the same business: sustainability officers, facilities management, heads of, etc., because there are different angles at this. But obviously, if we can reduce energy costs and help you do that, you're going to be more sustainable, and that's going to help going forward. And just not, I focused a lot on the energy side, but risk awareness. Number of sites, obviously, that I will go out to with the risk engineers where there's been floods or damage, fires, etc. There are ways you can help mitigate and reduce these risks. So, smart building technology. And before I started at Zurich, a lot of people would talk about smart building technology, and I'd kind of have an idea to a point. But what I wanted just to spend a few minutes on is, what does that actually mean? And really, how is that going to benefit you? So, smart building technology, as it says in the top part, it's about looking at usage. We've covered that already, but usage of electricity, gas, water. They'll often, when we look at care homes or hospitals, they will have, or schools, they'll have wings that have got the lights on or got aircon on all the time. How can it be used so that you can reduce that usage when it's not needed? How can you be more efficient? And yeah, obviously, especially in current times, that comfort for people that are actually going into offices or wherever. So there wouldn't be a webinar in 2025 about it mentioning AI, but obviously you've got artificial intelligence, and you've got something called IoT, the Internet of Things, which is basically allowing you to, what IoT and what smart building technology is there to do is monitor, understand all the usage. So a number of you will have a building management system in your office or property. That building management system is there to connect to your heating system, your air conditioning, your gas, your water, etc., etc. And through sensors, it will gather thousands of data points. So whenever we go out on site and we look at someone's BMS, there could be 10,000 data points. They're all sitting there behind the system, and it's identifying what is going on in that property at any time. What we're talking about through smart building technology and a building management system or BMS is a good example of that. It effectively needs three things to be smart building technology. So it needs a device. It needs something at the beginning, something that physically sits in your building or your property. The second part, it will need a connection. So whether we're talking about Bluetooth, phone signal, etc., etc. And the third part, it will need something to process that data. So the cloud, etc., etc. But think of smart building technology, if you haven't got it already in your offices, there's the end device or the beginning device, there's the connection, and then there's a processor. So this could be anything from building management system, get smart fridges these days, obviously smart watches, the bane of my life in my house with my 8-year-old, and Alexa. All of these types of things are there to provide data for yourselves. Smart building technology, quite simply, is there to help with automation. It should be helping innovate, and absolutely one of the main parts, it should be helping with efficiency in that property. So as I mentioned, it's there, lighting, heating, air conditioning, etc., etc. So I've mentioned the building management system. For those of you who have it, it'll be sitting there probably in your plant room somewhere, a door closed with like green and red lights flashing at you. Building management system, as I've mentioned, what it's there to do is connect everything in the property. So a few examples you can see there. It's a central point for everything that goes into it. One person gave me a really good example of what a BMS does. Now, building management system is ideal. Okay, probably 50-50 to whether you have one or not. But someone said to me once, a building management system is like a clock. It's it's put on the wall or it's put in the office and it sits there and no one touches it. And obviously there's loads of data there, but often with a building management system, someone will come in once a year, have a play around with it, disappear again. They might change some of the settings because someone in an office has said they're hot or they're cold, etc. But the BMS sits there, it's got all this data there, but it's effectively left. And what I get, and I've tried to put these sort of succinctly when I talk to people, that top one, the number of people that say to us, we have a building management system, but it was installed a few years ago. We don't know what it does. We don't know how to use it. As I mentioned, someone comes in once a year and then they go again. And obviously, it's going back to what I talked about at the beginning. People are looking to reduce energy costs. People are looking to be more efficient. So what I'm going to go through now is one of the solutions we've got. Now, the key thing really from today is just to understand there is technology, there is support out there. So we totally hear and understand the energy costs and the trends, etc. But what I've tried to convey in the last few minutes is through smart building technology, through the Internet of Things, there is solutions that are out there to help you understand and manage what is going on in your property. So very briefly, and then I'll hand over to Martin because I really want you to hear how smart building technology has helped Martin. Insight, Zurich Insight is our observer. It's our listening in device. So where I talked a minute ago about you need three things. You need that, like you need a device in the property, you need a signal, and then you need a processor. What we have is an observer listening in device that will be able to give you data. So it will physically connect to the building management system. And what it does is it will produce data like this. As I said, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but you just see it at a high level. It gives you information about what is happening to the property from a risk point of view. So your water systems, your heating, HVAC, air conditioning, etc. It will allow you to understand very quickly what is going on in the property. Obviously, if there's things that are red or amber, you'd need to go and look into them to find out what the issues are. We will allow you to drill down. So feedback we get a significant number of times is, we know there's issues in the property, but we don't know where they are. So we'll be able to allow you to drill down even further as to, okay, as you can see there, obviously this is fake data. We've got equipment running continually. That fourth one down, nearly every time we look at clients' data, the heating valves or their cooling valves are permanently open. And obviously they need to be changed regularly because seasonality changes, etc., etc. We will allow you to understand when we say equipment running continually, where do we actually mean, so that your facilities team can go in and make those changes straight away. What we're trying to say to you on this is, don't, whether you use us or someone else, don't wait once a year for someone to come in to make changes to your property. This is something that should be looked at on an ongoing basis. And this allows you to have the data to understand that. And just finishing off, really, we've talked a lot about utilities, about energy, gas and water. This gives you the visibility to see on a monthly, weekly, daily, hourly, if you want it, basis, where's your electricity being used? Where is it per meter? So you can identify and isolate issues and areas of inefficiency. We'll do it from a gas point of view, and we'll do it from a water point of view. And there's significant examples. One here, you can see where the moment they've taken out smart bidding technology and this observer, their water usage is almost halved on this example. And this is a real client. Smart bidding technology or insight will allow you to understand trigger points. The number of people, and this is really important, the number of people I speak to who will say, we've got two offices, we've got one in X location and we've got one in the other. And the one in the second location is a smaller property, but the water bill is shooting through the roof. Often that will be because of a slow leak. You know, there's so much of plastic piping, etc., where there's these number of leaks coming through. I see it all the time when I'm out on site. So we will be able to help you trigger and understand if there's any changes to normality of your usage. Go and look into it. Go and look into it before it's too late, because otherwise the only way you're going to find out when that worst case happens, when you get a significant leak, or when your water bill comes through every month or every quarter. We'll be able to give you significant data. We will do the work for you. We will look at, and this is just an example of a real client, some of the information, there's a lot on here, so don't worry too much, but some of the information that we provide to clients to talk about how we can extend the life of equipment, where there are inefficiencies. So often there'll be set point temperatures that are too high. So that very bottom, number 7, you can see about, potential 20% saving on energy costs because the set point temperatures are incorrect. There'll often be things like, and this one, number 4, this was a significant example about really high CO2 levels. Not great anywhere, certainly not great in a school. Air temperature filters, Legionella risks, etc., etc. It's about helping you identify what is going on and what needs to change. So I think I've talked myself out. At this point, I will hand over to Martin just to go through obviously how it's supported. Martin.
Thanks, Andrew. Hi everyone, Martin Richards, as Andrew mentioned earlier, Zurich's UK Technical Innovation and Security Manager. So a big advocate of Insight and the Observer platform, which has worked really well for us at Zurich. I'm responsible for engineering-based smart technologies, including systems such as BMS, security lighting, smart lockers, occupancy, space utilization, and environmental temperature and air quality control. 5 years ago, we started working with Insight. We tried various other demand-driven sort of smart technologies before that, but Insight seemed different. It's a lot more intuitive in terms of the way it works and the way that it presents its dashboards. As with all modern smart buildings, these aren't very smart if they're not operating efficiently. And often they'll have hidden issues, and even the most modern of buildings can also have issues, which I'll come on to a little bit later. Insight, for us, it was a very simple plug and play data collection device. It connects to the building's BMS system or associated controls HVAC system. So if you've got a Mitsubishi or a Daikin aircon system, it can connect quite simple to that as well. And it operates through a secure and stable mobile connection as well. So it's very, very simple to connect up. Insight offers a very smart way of analysing the BMS data. Andrew, you mentioned earlier about 10,000 points. There are thousands of points on BMS systems, but really you want to focus on the ones that give the highest advantage in terms of efficiency. Insight analyzes the BMS data, but it intelligently focuses on exceptions and mismatches that are present in the system, which sometimes aren't that visible to everybody that's operating the BMS, and that includes the suppliers, the specialist suppliers that are also that we're also paying good money for to manage our systems. They're not always seeing everything that's going on in the background. This, for us, has been a fantastic proactive measure, and it helped us offer quite a bespoke business-focused maintenance solution for our buildings as well, assisting us further in maintaining the building and reducing operating costs and risk also as well. Insight integrates with leading manufacturers, BMS manufacturers. I mentioned Tritium and Mitsubishi earlier, but it also integrates very well with Sauter Controls, Trend Controls, Tritium Controls, and Cylon as well. You'll be able to work with your service partner to investigate issues proactively. and prove high efficient if you know, sometimes these issues can be left, if they're left undetected, can be very inefficient in managing the building. From a user experience, you know, we started working with Insight 5 years ago, and immediately it helped us identify issues with fan core units and other HVAC systems which were hindering each other, fighting against each other potentially. And Insight was very informative and provided us with some building reports and dashboards, including recommendations for improvements. Insight also acts as critical monitoring for our IT comms rooms, and it helped identify a water leak in one of our buildings through monitoring and reporting of high humidity levels. So it actually proved to be a fantastic benefit there, and that was out of hours at a weekend. So it brought everybody to the issue much earlier and avoided a major problem. One of the hidden benefits of Insight that we'd never realised existed, we opened a brand new office in Swindon, our Unity Place flagship headquarter, and Unity Place replaced an old building that we'd been in for several years within Swindon as well, which we'd outgrown over a period of time. Insight provided us with an unexpected benefit. Smart building, being Unity Place brand new, you know, it's not very smart if it's not operating as efficient as it can. And that not only increases the risk, but it also costs towards energy and expensive repair costs. Insight was very easy to install. As I said earlier, it was plug and play. So we got it up and running quite quickly at Unity Place, but we were able to make some immediate changes, and we saw the benefit straight away through the live dashboards, which were on the previous slides. And we were able to visually monitor and extract reports, and these reports can come out in various formats such as graphs, heat maps, or CSV files, so you can play with the data in lots of different ways as well. Insight was particularly helpful during the defects and warranty period of the building. As with a new building, you get a defects warranty period, but you know, Insight provided us with some ability to be able to challenge our principal contractor around elements of the commissioning of the BMS and initial setting up of the HVAC, which wasn't particularly efficient at the time. It helped identify a higher than predicted energy consumption for the building. Some of this was caused by the ventilation working excessively, and the heating plan and the boilers and erratic pump operation, which were contributing to the increase. And this was something that Insight actually identified for us. It identified some additional boiler smart technologies, that some issues with some smart technologies that we'd installed separately, which was actually conflicting with the way the building was operating. So it actually meant that the systems started to fight against each other, which meant that that the system wasn't as efficient as what it could. So, you know, Insight was able to demonstrate this, and we were able to make an immediate change, which affected our energy consumption straight away. And with any issue, being able to challenge those issues, especially with a new build, during the defects and warranty period, lessened our risk financially and helped manage our first year's occupancy of the building as well. And it provided some clear and concise evidence to support the challenge as well. So we weren't just saying we had issues, we were able to evidence it, I think, which is really, really important and really powerful to do. This has also helped us earlier. I mentioned about business focused maintenance. You know, Insight, it's got full scalability, so you know, it help you with a business focused maintenance strategy, reducing cost base, focusing on the high priority business critical assets. And again, that then brings itself with reduced supplier costs on the FM world as well. So for us, you know, overall, you know, it's been a fantastic tool. We continue to work with Insight to see how it can develop further within our buildings as well. It's not only large buildings, large properties, smaller properties as well equally can have those hidden issues and can benefit from Insight as well. So thank you, and I'll hand back to Andrew.
Brilliant. Thanks, Martin. So I think what we'll do in a second, I've just literally got one more slide, but have a think about what Martin's talked about. And like I said, just to stress, we're here, yes, to talk about insight, but it's really to make you aware, as I said a few times, what are the challenges you've got? What are the challenges that are not going away, that are coming? And like I said, whether you use insight or something else, just be aware that there's smart bidding technology there. Some of the things Martin said about, being able to understand what's going on, to be able to make efficiencies, absolutely strikes a chord. And that's why I wanted Martin on here, because the number of people we talk to that just don't know where to go, don't know how to make these changes. So we'll stop for a Q&A in a second. Please ask any questions to Martin that you want, because obviously he runs the facilities of a building, similar to role likes to yourself. So if there's any questions for Martin, then absolutely let us know. So just finishing off, and then I'll pass to Sarah. These are the types of people that we can help. It's not, it's not an end list, but I know we've got property owners, brokers, etc. on here. Really hope you found it useful. Really, just to clarify again, there is solutions to help you reduce risk. There is solutions to help you reduce those energy costs, and in turn help on the sustainability side. So without further ado, I will, Sarah, pass over to you. Please now put any questions you've got in the chat.
Yeah, hi, morning everyone. So I'm going to facilitate the Q&A. We have one question that's come in from Dora. So let me just read this out to you. What kind of devices are used to be able to measure these? Now, I'm not quite sure what they're referring to. Is it custom? Oh, it must be the BSS. Is it custom made? Is it a custom made device? Who is the technology provider of the hardware and software?
Yeah, I can pick that one up. So yeah, so devices to be able to measure these. So this is effectively an observer or listening device. So where I talked earlier about you need the three areas. Where Insight works, you've got the building management system that has those data points sitting there already. It controls everything. Like I said, it doesn't, not all, some do, but not all of them will then be able to give you the data. So then the connection point will be, your Bluetooth or a phone signal. And what Insight does is it physically connects in. So I went to a place yesterday. We went in, you literally physically connect the BMS to Insight. There's an aerial there, and then they had a phone signal. That's it, done. So, and then it will start picking up data almost immediately. It will see the number of data points that are in there, and straight away yesterday we could see, right, the water is connected to the BMS, the aircon, etc., and then over time those the dashboards and reports that I showed you, they will then be produced, and then we will do the work to look at trends and go back to the client.
Right, thanks, Andrew. Got another question here from Charlotte. It's just in terms of costs. Is this priced on a quotation basis, or are there set costs per square meter?
Good question. So no, for Insight, we do it on a building management system basis. Now, I'd say 99% of properties that have a BMS will have one building management system. So it's just the price will depend on how many building management systems you've got. If it's one, it's a set price. As Martin said, it's a plug and play system. So there's often no installation cost. So whether it's a primary school or a large sports stadium, then that won't make any difference as long as there's one building management system connecting everything together.
And then I've got another question here. It's also around costs as well. What's the cost to the client for using Insight, and is there a reduction for Zurich clients?
I was always waiting for
two
that
questions
question.
In one.
Yeah, fine. So yeah, absolute transparency. So Zurich Insight, it's a no cost for the installation, and then if you include the software, the energy software, which is obviously the electricity, gas, and water, which is important, and the human support, and just really quickly to stress on that, the feedback I get, there are a number of software providers out there that do similar-ish stuff or look at energy management, but what they don't do is actually look at the data. So personally, it will be me and a building management expert will look at all of the data, and there's thousands of data points there, We'll look at all that information and work out and go, what needs to be changed, come back, jump on a call and go, these are the things that need to be done. And that's an ongoing cycle. The cost for that is £450 a month on a 12-month contract. Now, often clients will say, oh, budgets, etc. To be really clear, a return on investment is a matter of months, 4 or 5 months. That's it. Because if we can reduce your energy costs by 10-15%, which we are very confident in doing, you're going to make that money back very quickly. Often I go to a lot of trade shows, and often people say to me, a return on investment is often 18 months for any product. I'm really confident that we're talking 4 or 5 months to do that. And that's ignoring, like Martin said, the risk benefit of escape of water, that type of thing as well. So at the moment, there isn't a reduction for Zurich clients, and actually it's a key point. We can help Zurich clients. It's the majority of you on here. We can help non-Zurich clients. If you've got other properties that aren't with Zurich, we can help those as well. But longer term, obviously, the more you're doing to reduce risk, which Insight does, there's going to be that knock-on benefit of less claims, less excesses, deductibles, premium increases, etc., etc.
Okay, is there any more questions? Has anybody got any more questions? We've got a couple more minutes. If you want any of your questions answered by Andrew or Martin today, you can pop those in the chat.
Yeah, and so just while we're waiting, because it's one I get all the time, which will probably come afterwards. So just to clarify about the building management system. So if you have a building management system, that has got all the data there. But probably where you're at the moment is it's not then giving you any information to make actionable changes. To going back to what Martin talked about, it allowed him within that warranty period, etc., to look at what needs to be done and get those changes made. That the whole premise of us or whoever you use for smart building technology is to be able to get the data that's sitting there and make those changes before it's too late. It's to be able to be proactive. That's the whole point of smart building technology and Insight.
Okay, well, don't have any more questions. I don't know if should we call it a day, or has anybody got any more they want to get in there for the last minute or two? Nah, it doesn't look like there's any takers. So I think on that note, we'll say goodbye and thank you for joining us today, and thank you to Martin and Andrew for a very informative webinar. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for taking the time today as well, out your busy schedule, and we look forward to seeing you on the next webinars that we host in the near future. Well, thank you very much and have a fantastic rest of your Wednesday.